So I'm sure you guys have talked about website evaluation before. You've talked about how you decide if it's a good website, if it's authoritative, if it's somebody you can trust. I know that you've worked on this in the past. One thing I often hear people say is that if it's a .org or a .gov or a .edu, then it's good, and if it's a .com, it's bad. I would actually like to dispel this myth right now. That means I'm kicking that idea out of there. Certainly .gov and .edu is going to tell you that it comes from the government or it comes from usually a university. And those are good signals for you to follow. But you still need to evaluate exactly who is that organization and why are they useful for your topic. Okay, so, but I would say it's generally good to say .gov, .edu. .org, however, do not necessarily trust every .org out there. MartinLutherKing.org, lutherking.org, you would think that that organization is going to be one that's going to give you facts about Martin Luther King, maybe would be about civil rights, but actually martinlutherking.org is sponsored by a white supremacy group. That means it is a racist site, okay? They can get a .org, anyone can get a .org. So don't think that this is the only way to evaluate whether it's a good source or not, okay? I would actually recommend that the most important thing when you're choosing a source is to decide if that person has credentials, okay? Credentials means what are their professional qualifications for a particular role. For example, if you wanted to know, is Miss Luxembourg really an expert on books? If that's your question, I can tell you what my qualifications are, okay? I could say I have a BA in English, an MA in library and information science. I've taught 10 years in the English classrooms, and I could even say my Goodreads account has 350 books in it that I have read and rated. So that's just a silly one, but the rest of these are my credentials. That says that yes, I'm an expert on books, and you could probably believe something that I would write or say about that. Okay, so we're going to look at how to get into the credentials of someone. So what we're going to do is go to a guide page. You're going to go to northview.ankenyschools.org, and feel free to pause this whenever you need. You're going to click Media Center, and we're going to go to the student guides just like you did in health. I'd like to show you some sites to avoid, all right, on the physical science page, and then you're going to look at Explore Energy Sources. Some other people are going to do the CARS one. Explore energy sources, and we're going to look at the meaning or the debatable issue sources. These are some fact ones that maybe you already consulted for your poster part. But let's take a look at this first one. You have a sheet that has some questions on the side. Let me get to that in just a second. So this sheet is useful for you because you're going to go through and evaluate your sources using some of these questions. So we're going to look for the claim, when it was written, what's the purpose, who was it written by, and here's that keyword, what is their credentials. Once I figure out the credentials, I really know if I can trust this source or not. Okay? So once again, we're on this physical science page. We're looking at the meaning sources. We're going to look all the way at the bottom at the solar energy still sucks in a big way. Now I'm guessing you probably already wonder if this is a good source, and I think this word sucks tells you right away that this is not a very professional piece, okay? It is clearly stating a claim that solar power is not good. Okay, I'm not sure, thinking about this, whether it's a scientific claim. So right away, you know that this probably isn't a good source for your project because you want a scientific claim, not just any old claim, because anyone could make a claim. Whoops. So already we're dubious. We're not sure this is going to work. Then as we look through, we're going to try to figure out, does he have an actual scientific claim? Really what he's talking about here is cost effectiveness. Okay, so he's using some tools like this calculator and a calculator for cost of energy. And I'm just going to click on that to see what exactly he's using, to see if that's a good resource in itself. To me, this doesn't look super professional. I'm not really sure. It doesn't quite say. So I'm going to see, is he even using good resources? Escrow Co. Okay, well, I'm not sure. Um, but his purpose is clearly in this article, his purpose is to get his opinion across and to convince us that solar energy is inefficient. Okay, so in terms of these questions over here, I think you could write down, and I would like you to go ahead and write this down right now. The scientific claim is that solar energy is not cost effective. When was the resource last updated? Let's see right here. It says June 17th, 2010, which is sort of recent, but I think you can find more current things for energy because that's really being updated all the time. What was the purpose of the resources publication? This is clearly an opinion blog, and if you go to menu and go to about right here, you can see a little bit about who wrote it, which will tell us about the purpose. Hi, my name is Dan. I like to write about technology, Apple, Android. Okay. Basically, his purpose is just to express his opinions. So I would write here to express his opinions. And who is it written by? Dan. He has no credentials. Go ahead and write that down. He has no expertise that he claims on this topic. Who is it written for? That's not really clear. And it just seems like anybody who will listen to his opinions. So I would say anyone who will listen. And these questions ask you to examine the facts that support solar energy or that raise concerns about solar energy, but or about the energy source. But I'm not even going to do that for this topic or for this source because I know right away, because he was not a valid source, I don't care about his information. It may be valid information, but I'm not going to use it because it's not coming from an expert. Okay? But these are good things to think about as you look at other sources. All right, so for the next article, it's much more of a challenge. I would like you to, with a partner, click on this article, Solar Energy Panels Drain the Sun's Energy, Experts Say, and you can work with a partner and answer these questions. Do at least the ones that we did here, the claim, when it was written, purpose, who wrote it and credentials, and who's it written for. And then for this one, I think you do want to go through and answer these questions here because I think it'll help you decide why we should avoid it. I'm already telling you it's not a good source. Your job is to figure out why.